A very warm welcome to another edition of the MMK Show. Now, today, only one M is doing this podcast because this is actually a recording and it's pretty late at night for the other M and also the K, Margaret and Kevin. So I'm going solo today, and today we're going to be talking about bookkeeping. We have Nathan Hirsch, who's waiting backstage, and he's going to be joining me, and he's going to be sharing some tips for you on how you can maintain your monthly bookkeeping. But before I invite Nathan on screen over here, I want to first of all thank our partner of the month, CrediLinq.ai. If you have not heard about them, you should get more information. First of all, go grab this ebook that they're giving on the various Amazon financing options that are available to sellers. So go to bit.ly/CrediLinq and get this free ebook. Now, CrediLinq basically offers funding to Amazon sellers. And the best part is that there is no collateral required for this sort of credit line that they give you. There are no income documents required. Like when you go to a bank, you get a loan, you need a lot of income documents, nothing of that sort. And also they give you up to $2 million in credit. And it's approved within 24 to 48 hours. So if you are an Amazon seller and if you are scaling a brand, then this is a really good way to get fast credit and basically spend on inventory or marketing or whatever you need. Also, you pay as you go, so you don't have to necessarily pay every month. You just pay for whatever you have used. And you can also decide how much you want to pay when. So a lot of flexibility is available. So check out CrediLinq.ai. And we also have a promo code. So if you go to their website, CrediLinq.ai, and you use the code ISN, then you get a discount of, I think it's up to $1,000 or something, like a fee rebate that is offered. So check out CrediLinq.ai, and a huge shout out to the team at CrediLinq for being our partner of the month. Okay, the other thing I want to quickly share is India sourcing trip October 2024. So we've got our dates out. It's October 14th to the 21st. We're doing our trip. And then we also have optional factory tours from the 21st to the 23rd. And our super, super early bird prices are going to be available April 15th. So exactly a week from now. So if you're following us on Facebook, follow me, or if you're in our India sourcing Facebook group, we're going to be announcing the prices over here. Tickets are going to be available soon. And one other advantage of buying the tickets early on is that you can pay in 4 installments instead of 3. So that's a huge advantage. Instead of 3, you can pay in over 4 monthly installments. So that's a bit easier. And of course, if you book flights, right now, then the flights are much cheaper, and you're going to be saving money, on flights as well. So April 15th, mark this date on your calendar, and also the India sourcing trip coming up October 14th to the 21st. Really look forward to seeing you guys in India. All right, so let me invite Nathan now on screen. Hi, Nathan. How are you doing?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. So, this has been very long due. We've known each other. We've been following each other for a really long time. And finally, we are doing this. So thank you so much for joining us. And it's super early morning for you.
Yeah, it's 7 a.m. I appreciate you rescheduling. Sorry, I couldn't do it the original time. I have a newborn, so doing anything right when I'm trying to put him to sleep doesn't work very well. But yeah, thanks for having me on it. And I'll also add that I know some people who have been on the India sourcing trip, and they've had nothing but great things to say. So, or maybe your past sourcing trips. But yeah, I'm excited for this, and thanks for having me on.
Awesome. All right, so let's get started. So I'm going to share screen, and here are your slides. So let's get straight into it.
So today is all about building a good monthly bookkeeping process for your e-commerce business. And e-commerce is obviously very unique. A lot of entrepreneurs, they don't love finances. They don't love all the things that go into it. I'm coming from a place that I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a former seller. I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm not a CPA. So I'm approaching this what an entrepreneur, what a seller needs to know to set up that perfect monthly bookkeeping process. So that's what I'm going to go through today. To start, just a quick intro to me. I started selling back in 2009. So I got in really, really early, sold 25 million on Amazon from 2009 to 2016. And I had no idea what I was doing when it came to bookkeeping. I ignored it. I tried dumping on other people. I tried doing it myself. We'll talk about that. But it wasn't until I started my next company, FreeUp, which was an e-commerce hiring marketplace, that I really took bookkeeping seriously. And I kind of saw from the 5-6 years of my Amazon business that setting up a bookkeeper from day one was so important. So one of the best decisions I ever made with FreeUp was hiring a bookkeeper from day one when we started the company. And not only did that help us make good decisions every single month based on what the numbers were telling us, but it also helped us sell the business and pass due diligence years later because we had 4 years of immaculate books going back to the first day. So I'm going to kind of dig into that when we get there. I own a portfolio of businesses now, Outsource School, which teaches people my hiring process, Trio SEO, which is my SEO business. I know you're having my partner Steven on to talk about SEO, so that's awesome. And then obviously my 2 bookkeeping businesses, EcomBalance and Accounts Balance. And the truth is, with all these businesses, we have bookkeeping, we have monthly bookkeeping processes. It's the same every single month. I get my reports on time. I make decisions based on what the numbers are telling me. And I want you guys to leave this meeting, leave this presentation with what your process should be so that you can set it up with your own e-commerce business. And I'll pause there in case you have any questions.
No, that sounds good. Let's keep going.
Cool. So the biggest mistake that I see e-commerce sellers make is doing bookkeeping themselves. They'll take a course on QuickBooks, they'll open up a Xero or QuickBooks account and try to add it to their monthly agenda. They'll try to do it a few hours every single month, chip away at it, learn it, master it, go on presentations and learn the ins and outs of bookkeeping. That is a bad use of your time. Amazon e-commerce is hard enough. You have lots of more important things to do than bookkeeping, whether it's sourcing products, learning PPC, mastering whatever you need to do that's not bookkeeping. The best entrepreneurs are not doing their own bookkeeping. And like I mentioned, I hire a bookkeeper from day one in all my companies, even before we're profitable, even before I prove the concept, because the truth is you're not going to go out of business because of your bookkeeping expense, especially if you're small. Bookkeeping is relatively cheap. But you will go out of business if you don't understand your numbers, or if you're making decisions based on bad numbers, or if you're spending your time in the wrong places, spending it on bookkeeping when you should be spending it on growing and other parts of your business. So keep in mind, most entrepreneurs are not good at bookkeeping. Even if you were a CPA or a bookkeeper in a past life, I would still argue that it's a bad use of your time. But most of the time that we get clients that did their own bookkeeping for the past year, past months, whatever it is, they just have to pay us to redo it anyway because it's not done correctly. So you could end up in a situation where you waste a lot of time and then you just have to pay someone to correct it. It really is the course you should never buy. If someone's selling a course on how to become a bookkeeper, if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, if you're trying to be an e-commerce seller, or if you are one, don't take that course. You can hire out for it. Focus on setting up a good monthly bookkeeping process and understanding the reports that we're going to go through. Any questions there before I keep going?
No, keep going.
Cool. So if you think of accounting as a whole, it's really broken down into 3 parts. You've got your CPA or tax person. If you're outside the US, it won't be called a CPA, but they're there to file your taxes. They're there to give you tax advice. They're there to make sure that your entity is formed correctly and that you're an S Corp or a C Corp. They're there to help you with all of those decisions. They can help you when you go through a sale like I did to maximize that or to minimize your taxes. All that stuff is great for a CPA. Then you've got your monthly bookkeeper. They are not there to give you tax advice. They're not there to tell you how to set up your entity. They are there to do your monthly books, your income statement, your balance sheet, your cash flow. They're there to reconcile and categorize everything in QuickBooks, following GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. But they're there to accurately and on time deliver your books every single month. And then you might have a CFO as you get bigger, a part-time, an outsourced, full-time, whatever it is. They're kind of like a business coach. They're there to help you take the numbers and make business decisions based on what those numbers are telling you, or they're there to help you forecast sales, forecast cash, make decisions on financing, stuff like that. You wouldn't go to your CPA and ask them, hey, should I spend more money on PPC? And you wouldn't go to your bookkeeper and ask them, hey, how do I save money on taxes? And you wouldn't go to your CFO asking them to file your taxes for you. So each of these roles is important for your business. Every business needs at least a tax person and a bookkeeper. You don't necessarily need a CFO. Usually when you get bigger, over $5 million, that can come into play, especially if you have a complex business. But where a lot of people go wrong is they try to blend the two. They try to find a bookkeeper who will also do taxes, or a CPA who will also do their bookkeeping. And you got to remember, a CPA is focused on the tax side. They're usually not great at just doing the monthly books every single month. And they're doing the books in a way to file taxes, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong, but it doesn't necessarily help you as an entrepreneur. For example, you could take all your expenses and put them together and still get the correct tax numbers. But as an entrepreneur, you want to see them broken down, and that's what a bookkeeper does. So it's very important that you split these up. In every business I've ever started, I have a separate CPA, a separate bookkeeper. A CPA is usually more expensive. And if you don't have a financial background and you put one person doing everything, there are no checks and balances. You're not going to be able to know if they're doing anything right or wrong. You're just relying on them. So make sure you use a CPA for taxes, a bookkeeper for bookkeeping, and a big mistake that you can make is using a CPA for bookkeeping. Any questions there?
No, that's great advice. I mean, I was actually going to ask you, when is the right time to hire a CFO, but you answered that. So generally when you're at around 5 million and you have a complex business, right?
Yep, exactly. And for CPA, I mean, we don't offer tax, we don't offer CPA services. I have a CPA that I've personally used for 15 years. He helped me with my Amazon business. He helped me sell a company. I really like him. His name's Elliot. If you shoot me a message on social media, Nathan Hirsch, or an email, nathan@ecombalance.com, happy to make an introduction for you. I don't get a kickback or anything, but he's fantastic. And obviously we do bookkeeping. So and I've got some CFO referrals too, if that's what you're looking for.
Okay, awesome.
So taking a step back with my Amazon business, this is kind of how it progressed. I tried doing bookkeeping myself, and that was a failure. And I just had to pay someone to redo it all. Then I tried hiring college kids with no bookkeeping experience because they were cheap to do my bookkeeping. And that was an equal disaster because I paid a lot of money and it was all done wrong anyway. Then I tried dumping on my CPA at the end of every year. So I wouldn't do my books at all. I had no idea how my business was doing. At the end of the year, I would just dump it on him. And that didn't help for decision making. And it just led to a very stressful tax time. And then I hired a bookkeeper. I found one that I really liked, but I had them do books every quarter instead of every single month. And what I realized there is it was too late to make any decisions. By the time I got the books, it had been months. All the decisions had passed. It was too late to cut down on a certain cost or hire someone or do anything based on what the numbers were telling me. So I finally realized that you have to get into a good monthly process. The month ends before the 15th of the next month. You should be getting that income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. And a lot of people, they try to save money by doing it quarterly or end of the year. It just doesn't work. Monthly should be the frequency that you're looking for. And so if you're setting up a process, keep that in mind.
All right, sounds good.
So let's talk about the right tools, because there's different bookkeeping softwares out there. There's stuff like Wave and GoDaddy, and a lot of them are free and cheap for a reason. And especially for an e-commerce business, which is some of the most complicated bookkeeping, it's only going to get you so far and you're going to outgrow it. And the problem with outgrowing a bookkeeping software is you're going to have some of your books on one software, some of your books on another software, or you're going to have to pay someone to move all the data from one to the other, and it's never that clean. So you want to make sure you're using one of the top two bookkeeping tools, QuickBooks Online or Xero. Don't use QuickBooks Desktop. It's 2024. You should have it online unless you're really hiring a bookkeeper to come to your house. And these are monthly expenses. It's $40 a month. It's a necessary business expense. But those are the tools you should use. And with e-commerce, there's actually two. I have one on here, but there's linking tools you need. Connecting Amazon or connecting Shopify directly to QuickBooks or directly to Xero doesn't work that well. You need that interconnecting tool, A2X, or there's another one, Link My Books, that we really like, that pulls in the data, pulls in refunds, pulls in fees, helps break it down, helps put COGS into your books. That's your tool setup. You need either QuickBooks Online or Xero and a connecting tool to go to the marketplaces. The other things to keep in mind is you don't want to use a tool like Bench or Final Loop, where they are the only ones that use their own software. They built the software, no one else uses it, no one else can use it, and you're just 100% at their mercy if you do that. Your entire bookkeeping is in their system. If you ever want to change it, you're going to have to pay someone to move all the data in there or redo it. And if they increase prices or whatever it is, you're kind of stuck with them. So the beauty of QuickBooks or Xero is if you use my service or someone's service and you don't like them, there's a lot of other bookkeepers that use QuickBooks Online or Xero. If you use a random software that not many people use, it's going to be very hard to find a bookkeeper that uses it. And CPAs are very familiar with QuickBooks Online or Xero for your taxes, not so familiar with other softwares.
Can you talk a little bit about A2X? I mean, how does that work? And can QuickBooks and Xero, can they not be connected directly to Amazon and Shopify?
You don't want to connect them directly to Amazon and Shopify. There's just a lot of data points and it makes it very messy, especially because Amazon will have different cutoff points and you want to make sure that you're not counting things more than once. There's also different fees and stuff like that. I don't know why QuickBooks Online and Xero haven't made it easier to just connect directly to the marketplaces, but if you're good, it's kind of the industry standard now. You have to have A2X or Link My Books. If you find a bookkeeper that claims to be an e-commerce bookkeeper and they're connecting it directly to QuickBooks, or they're just putting in journal entries with your sales, run away. They usually don't know what they're doing from an e-commerce side. You have to have those connecting tools.
And how much does A2X cost approximately?
Link My Books or A2X, they could be anywhere from $30 to $200 a month, just depending on how many marketplaces you're on and how many transactions.
Okay. So you've got to pay for both QuickBooks, Xero, and A2X, of course.
Yeah, every bookkeeping firm is different. Like from our side, you pay for your own QuickBooks Online and Xero account because we want you to own it. You should own your own books. And there's horror stories of bookkeepers or accountants disappearing and they're the owners of your books. Not that we would do that, but we think it's important that you should own your own books. And then A2X and Link My Books, since we're partners with them, we just include that in our pricing.
Okay, got it.
Other things to keep in mind here is the proper bank account and credit card setup really matters. You want to be set up with business checking accounts, business savings accounts, business credit cards, not personal ones. Personal ones, you can't give view-only access to your bookkeeper, so you're going to have to download statements every single month and send it to them. It's one more thing for you to do. It's less accurate, takes the bookkeeper more time, going to cost you more money. And I know there's a lot of profit-first people out there. I'm kind of the opposite. Simpler is better. You don't need 10 bank accounts usually to run your Amazon business. Having one or two credit cards, keep it clean, put all your inventory on one credit card, all your other expenses on another credit card. Simpler is almost always better. And the less accounts you have, usually the cheaper your bookkeeping costs. So make sure you're set up with business accounts, QuickBooks Online or Xero, and that connecting tool, either Link My Books or A2X. So there's two types of bookkeeping, cash basis versus accrual. So cash basis essentially means whenever you pay for something, whenever the transaction actually happens, that's when it goes into your books. So if you buy a lot of inventory, it goes into your books. If let's say you're an agency and a client is paying you and they pay you for a 6-month contract, but they pay you up front, that goes in your books right there. Accrual is actually when you fulfill it. So if you buy a lot of inventory, but you sell that inventory over 3 months, the sales is going to be matched up with the cost of the inventory. So you can actually see how much you're making every single month. There's also a different way to do it that we prefer, which is essentially modified cash. So sales and COGS will be an accrual, but you're not accruing every single expense because that'll just cost a lot more and it's usually unnecessary for your business. If you go and buy office supplies, you could just put that on 1 month. You don't need to spread that out over the months that you're using the office supply. So this is a conversation you should have with your CPA. You shouldn't decide if you're cash and accrual or modified accrual. Your bookkeeper shouldn't decide. And you shouldn't just listen to like a broker or something that says, oh, sell your business, make more money if you're accrual. You should actually talk to your CPA and decide what's best for your business. And it can be a gray area. They might say, hey, it's better to be cash basis for year 1 and 2 because you'll save money in taxes, and then move to accrual or then move to modified cash. So make sure you have this conversation with your CPA. Keep in mind that accrual or modified accrual is a lot easier to actually see how your business is doing, because if you buy a lot up front, but then it's really going out the next few months, you might look really profitable in 1 month, but look like you're losing money in other months, but that doesn't really help you make decisions. So keep that in mind, but ask your CPA if you should be cash or accrual.
Okay, that makes sense.
So here's a quick way to see if your bookkeeper understands e-commerce and to make sure that your books are set up correctly. The top line of your income statement, your sales essentially, should not be the money that's deposited into your bank account. If you're a seller, you know that there's top line sales, and then there's all different Amazon fees, refunds, whatever it is. And then there's money that goes into your bank account. So people that don't understand e-commerce, they're just taking the money deposited in your bank account, putting out in the top line. They're ignoring the Amazon reports and all of that. That is not correct. That's not the industry standard. That's why you want a good linking tool like A2X or Link My Books that can break down all the different fees. But your income statement should be top line sales, all the different fees, then the money deposited in your bank account. So make sure your books are set up that way. So segmenting your books is important, and you want to be able to see how you're doing on different marketplaces. You should ask your bookkeeper, hey, can you break apart Amazon sales and Shopify sales and Etsy sales, Amazon US versus Amazon UK? You want to segment this as much as possible. I've also seen, and we have a lot of clients who might be running a service business and their e-commerce business in the same business, which is fine. I personally would split it up, but if you are running it in one business, you still want to be able to see, hey, how much am I making on my PPC service versus how much am I making on my Amazon product? So make sure you're segmenting things correctly. Make sure you sit down with your bookkeeper and say, hey, this is going to help me make decisions if we segment it out this way.
And it also helps you later on if you want to sell a specific brand, right? I mean, if you have multiple brands, I think that's also very helpful, because if you want to sell one brand but not the other, then it's good to have them separate, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you have multiple brands, you should at the very least be segmented by brands. Cool. So as an e-commerce seller, the P&L, the income statement, that's what a lot of people look at. They get their books, they look at how much money did I make this month, they maybe look at their expenses, and that's it. You want to make sure you're reviewing all 3 reports: the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. The income statement is going to show you your sales versus expenses and how much you made or lost. The balance sheet is going to show you the health of your business. So what assets you have, could be cash, could be real estate, could be inventory, versus your expenses. Do you have loans and debt and stuff to suppliers, whatever it is? So how healthy is your business right now in a snapshot? And then your cash flow statement is going to show you how much cash is actually coming into your business each month. And we know with e-commerce, I have one client who works with Walmart, and they're on like net 120 terms. So they're making all this profit, but their cash flow is brutal because they're not getting the cash until a month later. So make sure that you're looking at all 3 statements every single month: income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. I have an agenda, I think it's coming up here, of how to go through your books each month. If you go to ecombalance.com/agenda, you can grab that. But make sure you're not just looking at your income statement, look at all 3 of them. So the beauty of the e-commerce business nowadays compared to me in 2009 is there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of software. I work with a lot of them. There's great partners. There's things that can give you snapshots of sales and inventory and repricing and all these different things. These tools are great add-ons, but they don't replace monthly bookkeeping. If you have a good CPA, they're not going to accept these tools reports as your bookkeeping to file taxes on. You still need QuickBooks Online. You still need Xero, one or the other. You don't think that these tools are going to replace it, but they're fine as add-ons. If you want to be able to see something on a daily basis, weekly basis, while you wait for your monthly books to come out, and that helps you make decisions, great, go for it. Just get in the mentality that you still need QuickBooks Online or Xero. This is a big mistake I see sellers make. So we mentioned the 3 parts of accounting, your CPA, your bookkeeper, your CFO. Make sure all 3 of them communicate. If you don't have a CFO, make sure your CPA and your bookkeeper communicate. They should be on the same page at all times. We learned this in year 1 of EcomBalance. When we started onboarding clients, we started asking them for their CPA's information. We want to reach out to them. We understand that e-commerce sellers are not bookkeepers. They might not know how their business was set up or the different tax adjustments that their CPA is making. So it can be as easy as creating an email and CCing both parties and getting them on the same page, having your CPA get reports from your bookkeeper or giving them access to our portal where we upload the reports, but make sure they're on the same page. Let them communicate. These are the brains of your finance operation. They should be talking to each other. You shouldn't be the middleman. It's a bad use of your time. Things are going to get lost in translation. Put them together and let them communicate. And lastly is just make sure that you're meeting monthly to review your book. So the correct bookkeeping setup is the month ends. By the 15th of the next month, you get an income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement. Easy to read, on time. The books are done in QuickBooks Online or Xero. You've got your setup with the business bank accounts and the connecting tool. And then you have a meeting on your calendar that you do not miss for any reason. It's the most important meeting you run every single month. You go through your income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. You can grab my agenda if you want to know how Connor and I go through it. It's the same meeting we've been running for 6+ years on all our different companies. And this is the meeting that you make decisions. You don't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to hire someone or I'm going to increase PPC, or you're making decisions based on gut or instinct. You make your business decisions based on the numbers in the reports that you go through during this meeting. And that's how you're going to set up a good monthly bookkeeping process. So yeah, that's my presentation. EcomBalance.com is my monthly bookkeeping service. We only do monthly bookkeeping, nothing else. Charge you on the 1st, books by the 15th. If you want sample of the reports you get, if you go to EcomBalance.com/reports, you can see what they look like. You get a month free. We have a great bookkeeping team, lots of experience, but I think the coolest part about us is it's built by entrepreneurs, by sellers that know what sellers want in a bookkeeping service. So happy to answer any questions, and hopefully that was helpful in setting up your own good monthly system.
Yeah. So can you tell us more about EcomBalance? Like, how does it work? Is there a tool that people need to, sign up to, or is it online? Is it software? Is it more manual? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so we're not a software company per se. I mean, we build software behind all our companies. So we have a client portal that you log into. You can get a quote, give us information, get that quote. The quote's 2 parts, a fixed price for upfront catch up, cleanup, and setup, and monthly going forward. If you agree to the quote, we get you integrated. We get view-only access to your banks, your credit cards. We set up A2X and all of that. And then we get started catching up your books. And we have real bookkeepers with lots of e-commerce experience that are doing your bookkeeping every single month. We do have tools that we use like QuickBooks Online, like Link My Books. We use tools like Zenit to proof work and make sure that everything is correct. But we are a service first. We're a monthly bookkeeping service. You get assigned a bookkeeper. You work directly with them. We'll talk directly with your CPA. And our whole thing is just doing monthly books every single month.
Okay. And is this only for Amazon sellers, or, all platforms? And is it also for non-sellers, like software businesses or other types of entrepreneurs also use it?
So yeah, EcomBalance is not just Amazon sellers. We've got lots of sellers that are on WooCommerce, Shopify, Etsy, Walmart, you name it. We do have a sister company called AccountsBalance that's for non-e-commerce sellers. It's actually a lower price point because e-commerce sellers tend to be, or e-commerce bookkeeping just is more complicated and takes more time. But if you're a software company, a service provider, go to accountsbalance.com. It's the same monthly service, but at a lower cost. And you don't have to worry about some of the other stuff like A2X and Link My Books and inventory and stuff like that.
Okay, that makes sense. So you did mention some of the mistakes that sellers make when it comes to bookkeeping, but what is the number one mistake that you see sellers making?
I mean, Honestly, it's anything off of trying to do books yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people waste hours, weeks, days, months trying to map everything and link my books, trying to set up QuickBooks correctly, trying to reconcile accounts every single month, and then something else will get thrown in there. There will be a loan, there will be a CPA tax adjustment. So that's really the biggest mistake. 99% of the time when we get books from someone that's been doing it themselves, it has to be corrected. And the other mistake that I see people make is just using a bookkeeper that doesn't understand e-commerce. They find a local bookkeeper or they get a referral from one of their friends that has a different online business, and that person does not understand Amazon. They don't understand Amazon fees. They don't understand cost of goods. Make sure that you are not the first e-commerce client that your bookkeeper has ever worked with. Hire someone who has a lot of e-commerce clients. That's going to save you a lot of time.
And so does EcomBalance work only for sellers based in the US, or sellers in other countries? Can they use it too?
We have clients all over the world. Bookkeeping's bookkeeping, generally accepted accounting principles. We don't do tax. We'll work directly with your tax person. You do need your own local tax person, but we can still do the bookkeeping side of it.
Okay, that's very cool. So ecombalance.com, is that where people go to get the first month free, or is there a code, or how do we?
Yeah, just go to ecombalance.com, mention this presentation. You can also connect with me, Nathan Hirsch, on any social media platform.
Okay, awesome. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of this information on bookkeeping. So this is definitely a topic that sellers are, confused about and have lots of questions. So I'm sure they found it very useful. And guys, reach out to Nathan if you have any questions at all, and check out ecombalance.com. So thank you so much, Nathan. And thanks everyone for joining us. We will see you next week.
Thanks for having me.